It's 11:30 p.m. The house is quiet, maybe a little too quiet. You're staring at the glowing cursor on a blank white page, and it's blinking at you, mocking you. Or maybe it's that gym bag in the corner of your room, the one you packed 3 days ago that's still zipped shut, collecting dust. Or the notebook with business plan scrawled on the front that you haven't opened in a month. You feel it, don't you? That heavy, sinking feeling in your gut. It's a mix of exhaustion and this gnawing, sticky guilt. You promised yourself you'd start today. You said, "This is it, I'm going to do the work." And now the day is gone, and you haven't done a thing. So here is the question that keeps us up at night. Why is it so incredibly hard to do the thing we love the most?
If you're nodding your head, I want you to take a breath, because I have some good news. You are not lazy. You are not broken. And this isn't about a lack of talent or discipline. What if I told you that there is a force, a hidden, universal, and it is not just in your head? Well, it is, but it's not you. Think of it like a magnetic field. You know how when you try to push two like poles of a magnet together, the closer they get, the harder they push back? That is exactly how resistance works. The more important a call or action is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance you will feel toward pursuing it. It pushes back harder the closer you get to the finish line.
Now, in the US, we have a complicated relationship with this feeling. We live in the capital of hustle culture. We are taught that if you aren't grinding 24/7, you're failing. We wear our burnout like a badge of honor. So when we feel this resistance, this inability to move forward, we don't see it as an external force. We internalize it. We turn it into shame. We think, "I must not want it bad enough," or "I'm just not cut out for this." But Pressfield argues that this shame is misplaced. That force pushing back against you, it's actually a compass. It's telling you exactly where you need to go. In the next part, we're going to define this enemy a little more clearly, so you can stop taking it personally and start fighting back.
To fight back, you need to know exactly what you're up against, and you need a battle plan. Welcome to The Last Read, books for your ears, wisdom for your life. Today, we are opening the field manual for this exact struggle. We are talking about The War of Art, Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles by Steven Pressfield. This isn't just a book for writers or painters. It is a manifesto for anyone who has ever dreamed of starting a business, getting in shape, or simply leveling up their life, but found themselves stuck in the mud of their own excuses. Now, Pressfield hints at a solution throughout the early chapters, and I want to be clear about what it is. It isn't a magic pill. It isn't about finding the perfect app to organize your day, and it certainly isn't about waiting for inspiration to strike like a bolt of lightning. The solution he proposes is a fundamental shift in mindset. It is a way of viewing your work that completely strips away the drama and the fear. It's simple, but it is not easy. We are going to break down that specific mindset shift later in this series, so make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. You do not want to miss the tools that will actually help you win this war. And if you want to follow along with us, you can find the link to buy the book right in the description.
But first, you might be asking yourself, who is Steven Pressfield? Why should I listen to him? Is he just another self-help guru telling me to hustle harder? To understand why this book has become a Bible for creatives, you have to understand the man who wrote it. You have to understand that he isn't writing from a comfortable office in an ivory tower. He is writing from the trenches. Because before Steven Pressfield was a best-selling author, he was a failure for a very, very long time.
He didn't just stumble a little. He fell flat on his face, repeatedly, for decades. You see, in the United States, We love the myth of the 20-something billionaire. We love the story of the college dropout who codes an app in a dorm room and buys a private island 3 years later. That is not Steven Pressfield's story. Pressfield's journey reads more like a tragedy than a success story. He spent 17 years writing before he earned a single penny from his work. During those years, he wasn't sitting in a coffee shop in Brooklyn sipping lattes. He was out there, drifting through what he calls the sad blue-collar towns of America. He worked as a bartender, a tractor-trailer driver, and an attendant in a mental hospital. He picked fruit in migrant labor camps in Washington state. At one point, he was homeless, living out of the back of his Chevy van with his typewriter. He wrote novels that nobody wanted. He wrote screenplays that went nowhere. He blew up his marriage and his life because he couldn't figure out why he couldn't just sit down and do the work. He was a guy in his 50s before his first novel, The Legend of Bagger Vance, was finally published.
So when this man talks to you about the war of art, he isn't speaking as a guru who read a psychology textbook. He is speaking as a veteran. He has the scars to prove it. He knows the enemy because he engaged in hand-to-hand combat with it for nearly 30 years before he won a single battle. He realized that the thing stopping him wasn't a lack of talent, it wasn't bad luck, and it wasn't the economy. It was an objective, invisible force that was actively trying to destroy him. And to defeat it, he first had to give it a name.
He called it resistance, with a capital R. And this is where the book fundamentally shifts our understanding of why we fail to achieve our goals. Pressfield argues that resistance isn't just a feeling or a bad mood. He defines it as an objective force of nature, very much like gravity. Think about gravity for a moment. It is invisible, it is undeniable, and it is impersonal. Gravity doesn't hate you. It doesn't conspire against you personally. It just acts upon you. Resistance is the same. It is a repelling force, negative energy whose sole aim is to push us away, distract us, and prevent us from doing our work. We tend to look for the enemy outside of ourselves. In the US, we love to blame the external circumstances. The economy is down, the market isn't ready, my boss is too demanding, I don't have the right software yet. But Pressfield shuts that down immediately. He insists that resistance is 100% internal. It lives inside you. It is self-generated and self-perpetuated.
It is the enemy within, and because it is invisible, you cannot see it, touch it, or smell it. But you know it's there because you feel its symptoms. It manifests as procrastination, self-doubt, fear, addiction, and even creating unnecessary drama in our lives just to avoid sitting down and facing the blank page. But, and this is one of the most powerful insights in the book, you can use this force as a navigation tool. Pressfield offers us a brilliant analogy. He suggests using resistance as a compass. He writes that the more fear we feel about a specific enterprise, the more certain we can be that that enterprise is important to us and to the growth of our soul. That is your true north.
If you didn't care, if the project didn't matter to your evolution, you wouldn't feel the resistance. You don't feel resistance when you want to nap on the couch. You don't feel resistance when you want to doom scroll through social media for an hour. Resistance only appears when you seek to move from a lower level to a higher level, whether that is morally, creatively, or spiritually. So, if you are terrified of starting that new business, or writing that screenplay, or finally going to the gym, that fear is actually a good sign. It tells you exactly what you need to be doing. However, identifying the enemy is only the first step. Resistance is smart, and it doesn't always show up as fear. Often, it wears a disguise that looks remarkably like being responsible or being realistic. And in our next section, we're going to rip those masks off to see how resistance tricks us into failure.
So, let's rip those masks off, because resistance is rarely honest enough to just stand in front of you and say, "I am stopping you because I am afraid." If it were that obvious, we would just push past it. Instead, resistance disguises itself. It shapeshifts into things that look helpful, logical, and even necessary. The most common mask it wears is rationalization. Pressfield calls this resistance's right-hand man. It's that voice in your head, not the crazy voice, but the sensible one, that says, "You've worked hard all week. You deserve a break today. You can start on Monday." It's the sudden, overwhelming urge to deep clean the entire house the moment you sit down to write. It isn't that you are messy. It's that resistance knows scrubbing the floors is a virtuous distraction. It feels like you are accomplishing something, but really you are just hiding. In our modern culture, particularly here in the States, we have developed even more sophisticated ways to hide. We have access to infinite information, and resistance loves that. It manifests as paralysis by analysis. We convince ourselves that we cannot possibly start our project until we have done all the research. We buy another online course. We read 3 more books on the topic. We organize our workspace for the 10th time. We tell ourselves this is preparation, but Pressfield calls it out for what it is. It is fear, dressed up as diligence. And if being busy doesn't work, resistance will try to numb you. It hands you that phone to doom scroll through social media for hours, letting the dopamine hits pacify your anxiety. It encourages the extra glass of wine, the reality TV binge, the endless consumption of other people's creations so you can avoid making your own. It can even get darker than that. Resistance loves drama. Have you ever noticed that the moment you commit to a major creative or spiritual breakthrough, suddenly chaos erupts in your personal life? You pick a fight with your partner, your car breaks down, a family member has a crisis. Pressfield suggests that sometimes we unconsciously generate this drama. We create a soap opera in our lives because dealing with a crisis is easier than facing the blank page. Being a victim of circumstance is a perfect excuse to not do the work. We have to take this seriously, because as the book states, resistance plays for keeps. It is not just trying to annoy you or slow you down. Its target is the epicenter of your being. Its goal is to kill. Not to kill you physically, but to kill your genius, to kill the unique contribution you were put on this earth to make. If resistance wins, you never write the symphony. You never start the nonprofit. You never become the person you were meant to be. It is a war for the survival of the soul. So, if the enemy is this powerful and this cunning, how do we possibly defeat it? How do we show up and do the work when every fiber of our being is telling us to run away? The answer lies in a fundamental shift in mindset, a specific change in how we identify ourselves. It is about understanding the difference between being an amateur and becoming something else entirely, something far more gritty and reliable.
Turning pro. This is the turning point in the book, and frankly, the turning point in the life of any artist or entrepreneur. Pressfield draws a line in the sand. On one side, you have the amateur. On the other, the professional. Now, when we hear amateur, we usually think of someone who does something for fun, or maybe just isn't getting paid yet. But in the context of the war of art, an amateur is a mindset. The amateur plays for keeps, but only when it's convenient. The amateur waits for inspiration to strike before they pick up the brush. The amateur identifies so closely with their work that a rejection letter feels like a death sentence. To the amateur, a failure of the work is a failure of the person. They are terrified, paralyzed by what others might think, seeking validation from the outside world. The professional is different.
Turning pro is a decision. It's not about the money. You can be a professional without making a dime yet. It's about the habits. It's about stepping up to your work with the mindset of a lunch pail worker, a blue-collar laborer who punches the clock. Think about a plumber.
This is the analogy Pressfield uses, and it is brilliant in its simplicity. Does a plumber wake up in the morning and say, "I'm just not feeling it today. I don't think the pipe-fitting muse is speaking to me"? No. The plumber grabs his toolbox, drives the van to the site, and fixes the pipes. He doesn't get plumber's block. He doesn't wait for the stars to align. He just does the job, because that is what a professional does. This is the shift we have to make. We have to stop romanticizing the tortured artist waiting for a lightning bolt from the heavens. That is amateur thinking. The professional knows that inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. There is a famous quote Pressfield cites, often attributed to Somerset Maugham, that goes, "I write only when inspiration strikes." Fortunately, it strikes every morning at 9 o'clock sharp. That is the grit of the professional. They show up. They create a separation between themselves and the work. See, the pro knows that they are not their work. If the work fails, if the book flops, if the startup goes under, it's just a problem to be solved. It's data. It's not a reflection of their soul's worth. By creating this distance, by treating the art like a 9-to-5 job, the professional becomes bulletproof. They can take a hit and keep moving. And this mindset shift, treating your dream like a blue-collar job, changes everything about how you spend your day. It moves you away from looking for applause and towards something far more powerful: the sanctity of the daily practice. Sanctity of the daily practice. And let's be clear about what that practice looks like. It isn't glamorous, and it certainly isn't a montage from a movie where you write a masterpiece in one caffeinated night. It's mundane, it's repetitive, it is, frankly, boring. But the professional embraces this boredom. They understand a fundamental truth that Pressfield pulls straight from the Bhagavad Gita. We have a right to our labor, not to the fruits of our labor. Think about that for a second. The amateur is obsessed with the fruit. They're obsessed with the applause, the 5-star reviews, the money, the status. They sit down to write, and before they've typed a single sentence, they're already worrying about whether the critics will like it. They are paralyzed by a future they cannot control. The professional? They don't care about the fruit. They care about the labor. They know that the only thing they actually own, the only thing they have any right to, is the work itself. The act of sitting down, the act of typing, the act of painting. And this brings us to one of the most vital concepts in the book: the difference between operating in a hierarchy and operating in a territory. Most of us are trained from birth to live in a hierarchy. High school is a hierarchy. The corporate office is a hierarchy. In a hierarchy, you are constantly looking up and down, checking your rank against everyone else. You are asking, do they like me? Am I higher on the ladder than that guy? Am I successful yet? The amateur lives in a hierarchy. They need external validation to feel safe. But the professional claims a territory. A territory is different. A territory is just you and the work. Think of it like Arnold Schwarzenegger in the gym. The gym is his territory. When he lifts a weight, he doesn't need an audience to clap for him to get bigger muscles. The territory gives back exactly what he puts in. If he puts in the work, he gets the strength. It's fair. It's just him and the iron. Pressfield says that for the artist, the blank page is your territory. The canvas is your territory. You claim it by doing the work alone. He proposes a great test for this. Ask yourself, if I were the last person on earth, would I still do this? If the answer is yes, if you would still write that book, even if no one was around to read it, then you are operating in a territory. You are doing it for the sustenance it gives your soul, not for a badge of status. So, here is the realistic scenario of the professional's life. You wake up early. Maybe it's 5 a.m. The house is dark. The kids are asleep. You pour your coffee. You walk into your office, or your garage, or your corner of the kitchen table. You sit down. It's cold. You're tired. You'd rather be back in bed. But you don't go back to bed. You put your hands on the keyboard, and you stay there. You might write garbage for 2 hours. You might delete everything you wrote.
From the outside, it looks like you accomplished nothing, but the professional knows better. The victory wasn't in finishing the chapter. The victory was in the sitting down. The victory was in claiming your territory and refusing to let resistance keep you away from it. And here is the strange part, the part where the physics of the universe start to get a little interesting. Because when you claim that territory, when you show up day after day, expecting nothing, just doing the labor, you start to generate a kind of magnetic field. You clear a space. And that space you've carved out with your discipline, well, it doesn't stay empty for long. Something starts to fill it.
That something is what Pressfield calls the muse. It is the payoff. It is the sudden wind at your back after you have rowed against the current for hours. Up until this point, we have focused heavily on the enemy. We have talked about resistance as this malignant, toxic force that wants to destroy us. But Pressfield reminds us that the universe is not entirely hostile. In fact, he ventures into a spiritual dimension here that is quite profound. He suggests that for every ounce of resistance, there is an equal and opposite force of benevolence. He calls them angels. Now, you don't have to be religious to grasp what he is saying here. He isn't necessarily talking about winged cherubs playing harps. He is talking about potential. He is talking about the evolutionary force of life itself. Pressfield argues that the universe wants to expand. It wants us to create. It wants the screenplay to be written, the business to be launched, the symphony to be composed.
But this force, this muse, cannot do the work for us. Think of it like a lightning rod. This is perhaps the best way to visualize the dynamic between the professional and the muse. Inspiration, that flash of brilliance where everything connects, where the words just flow, where you lose track of time, that is the lightning. It is powerful, it is electric, and it is unpredictable. You cannot command the lightning to strike. You cannot sit down and force a masterpiece into existence through sheer will alone. However, you can build the rod. When you sit down every day at 9 a.m., when you turn off your phone, when you fight through that initial urge to quit and you just keep typing, you are erecting a lightning rod. You are standing out there in the storm, ready and waiting. If the lightning strikes and you are in bed sleeping, it hits the ground and is lost forever. But if you are there, standing at your post, doing the mundane, unglamorous labor, you catch the charge.
There is a famous quote often attributed to Pablo Picasso that Pressfield's philosophy embodies perfectly. He said, "Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working." This is the critical difference in mindset. The amateur waits for inspiration to strike before they start working. They want the feeling first and the action second. The professional knows that is backward. The professional works specifically to invite inspiration in. By doing the mundane, we set the stage for the magical. We have explored the enemy, which is resistance. We have looked at the strategy, which is turning pro. And now we have acknowledged the ally, the muse. It seems like we have the full picture. The board is set. The pieces are moving. But knowing the players isn't quite enough, because this game doesn't end when you finish the project. In fact, the game never truly ends. We need to talk about what happens when the alarm goes off tomorrow morning, and why this war is fought anew every single day.
The alarm goes off tomorrow morning, and why this war is fought anew every single day. See, this is the hard truth Pressfield leaves us with. There is no tenure in the war of art. You don't beat resistance once and then ride off into the sunset. It's not a video game where you defeat the final boss and the credits roll. Resistance is a daily recurrence. It wakes up when you do. Pressfield shares this incredible story about Henry Fonda, the legendary actor. Even at 75 years old, after decades of success, Fonda would still throw up before every stage performance, every single time. The fear never went away. He just had to fight the battle every single night. So, as we wrap up, let's look at the map one last time. First, we have the enemy, resistance. It's that invisible internal force that feeds on your fear and wants to keep you small. It's not out to get you personally. It's just a force of nature, like gravity.
Second, we have the strategy, turning pro. This is the shift in mindset. It's checking your ego at the door, treating your creative work with the discipline of a day job, and showing up no matter how you feel. And finally, we have the ally, the muse, the spiritual support that arrives only after we've started sweating. As Pressfield says, when we sit down each day and do our work, power concentrates around us. But remember, the most dangerous moment is when you think you've won. Resistance is smartest when you're close to the finish line or right after a big victory. So here is the challenge for you right now. Pressfield has a rule of thumb. The more scared we are of a work or calling, the more sure we can be that we have to do it. What is that one thing, that project, that phone call, that screenplay, that business idea that you are absolutely terrified to start?
That fear is a compass. It's pointing you exactly where you need to go. Don't cheat us of your contribution. As Pressfield writes, creative work isn't a selfish act, it's a gift to the world. If you were meant to write a symphony or cure a disease or just tell your story and you don't do it, you aren't just hurting yourself, you're hurting us. We need what you have. So tomorrow morning, when the alarm goes off, don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for the fear to vanish. Just sit down and do the work. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the war of art, you'll want to stick around for what's coming next. We dig into the books that shape our lives every single week. Make sure you're subscribed to the Last Read newsletter so you never miss a breakdown. You can find the link to buy Pressfield's masterpiece in the description below. It is essential reading for anyone trying to build something from nothing. Until next time, keep fighting the good fight.